one of the main reasons why innovation fails, and there's many reasons, but one of the main ones are that people start with in thinking about the constraints of the tool that they are using.
I agree. I think a lot of tools do constrain people because that's the way the tool is built, and people have to fit into that. But I also think people there's a perception of it's always been done this way, so let's carry on doing it this way because this is how we've been doing it for 10 years, as opposed to hold on, here's an opportunity for us to actually do a deep dive and review all the red tape we've built up over years. What can we axe? Like where can we be more efficient? And I think also with this AI era that we're living in, there's a lot of opportunity to bring in AI to take away a lot of that grunt work. And I think without knowing where to input that AI, like what is the best way to do it, I think people just get into a rut and stay in the lane, and like it's a killer of innovation.
Yeah, and I think the starting point is wrong, right? People go, we're running our projects off Excel. Surely there should be a better way of doing this. And the problems that we're facing by doing it this way is we don't have visibility. It's not very efficient. There's lots of manual copy and pasting. And then they go through this whole process of selecting what tool can help them do what they need to do to solve the problems. And I think often what we definitely experience ourselves is they come and look for a tool that does exactly what they're doing now, instead of looking for something that solves the problem that they are facing. They go from like, well, these are the features and functionalities we wanted to have, and they end up just choosing something that they feel comfortable and familiar with. And so they're not willing to challenge that awkwardness of, oh, this is very different than what we used to. And they don't ask the questions, but could this be really good or better?
Yes, I think with not just implementing new processes, but in general with innovation is that blue sky thinking. Like what happens if we did it this way? Or what happens, like, this is my end goal. And it could be like massive, big, hairy goals that seem impossible. But if you start there and work backwards, you can then plot the steps to get there. You don't like hop, skip, and a jump get there. Like it is a process, and you have to go through each step, step by step, to get there. But if you don't start with that blue sky thinking and you start with this is where we are and we just need to make it 1% better, then that's like the level that you're going to get to. A good example, and he's very much like Marmite, love him or hate him, but Elon Musk, he is a huge innovator because he has these crazy ideas and then he works backwards. I mean, you look at SpaceX as an example, which just IPO'd. His main goal is we need to get humans on Mars. And that is like such an audacious goal. But he didn't start and say, okay, well, let's just build a rocket and go to Mars. It's first we need to make space travel a lot simpler. And how do we do that? We start if we can reuse the rockets, etc. And then it was the failure of we've tried, we failed. We've tried, we failed. And I believe I read somewhere that the last attempt that was actually successful was literally make or break for the entire company. If that had failed, he would have had to declare bankruptcy. I don't know how true that is, but having that end goal in mind and then saying, well, these are the steps we need to get right in order to make this a reality. And I think that same thinking can be applied to any innovation, whether it's implementing a new process or landing someone on Mars.
Yeah. It reminds me of a talk by Willem van Biljon, and he did a TED talk in Cape Town years ago, probably more than 10 years ago. And that is exactly his methodology. I mean, he's quite an innovative um, entrepreneur from South Africa, who worked at Amazon, who was part of the team who founded cloud computing for AW, which is now known as AWS. And that's his methodology essentially is like there is no box to begin with. So this whole concept of thinking outside of the box, you're still limited by the box because you think there is a box. When it's actually you just have to think about any possibility. Like if it seems like the most impossible thing to do, that's fine. Think about it. Just don't be constrained by anything that you know is true in the world right now. And once you have that big, hairy ass goal that we always talk about, then it's that incremental steps towards getting there. Um, and you mentioned the 1%. Like people think about, oh, we just want to improve 1%. And in Atomic Habits, he talks about the 1% improvement. If you can improve things by just 1% every day, is eventually over time it's cumulative and it adds up. But you won't get to the end goal if you don't even know what that is. So why are you doing the 1% incremental improvements every day? I think that's where that disconnect is between innovation and just doing the same thing over and over again. Is you don't know what you're working towards. You're just kind of solving the problem that you have today. You're not thinking about opportunities that you could have in 10 years from now. And that might be beyond your time. Like you might be retired by then. You might be working in a different place. But if you set the pathway and the causeway to get there, then you're already starting to work towards that. Like Elon Musk probably won't live to see people on Mars, but he's set in motion the wheels to get that going, to enable humankind to do that.
Well, we will see how that plays out. Definitely.
If we are around by then.
I think innovation goes hand in hand with like that entrepreneurial mindset and spirit. I think there has to be the ability to see the art of the possible, to find a problem and then figure out how to innovate to improve it. So I think that first piece of finding out what the problem is. I mean, some businesses will know loud and clear, this is what the problem is, but a lot of them won't. Like we are working our asses off and we are not seeing the ROI of us hiring new people, and we're not seeing all the effort that we're putting in. Like it's not moving the needle in terms of the margin that we are seeing coming into the business. Like I don't know what the problem is. And I think that is where that entrepreneurial dig in, let's think about how and where we can make things happen and change and adapt. And I think hand in hand with that is risk aversion.
Yeah.
I think risk aversion, you mentioned one of the big failure points. I think another one is risk aversion. I don't want to be the person to innovate because if it fails, my neck is on the line. And I do think in a lot of companies that fear of failure or the repercussions of failure are so great that people are like, well, I have this great idea, but I'm not going to put it forward because if it doesn't work, my neck is literally on the line.
Yeah.
And I think that is hugely damaging to innovation.
That there was a speaker at BizX. He's now the chief of AI or head of AI at Flight Story. I remember his name. Gal.
Mo Gordat.
Mo Gordat. He basically said a lot of the reasons why things don't get implemented, or like things like AI don't get adopted, is decision making doesn't get made on this is a great idea and this could help drive our business forward and we're willing to take some percentage of risk. It's all about how defendable my decision is so that I don't lose my job. So if it doesn't go right, then I can say, well, here is all the data points and all the evidence to prove that I did everything right. And that is a very much individualistic mindset instead of like if I do well, we all do well mindset, like the whole Ubuntu thing.
Yeah.
So if you haven't been able to tell yet, today's episode is about innovation. And innovation isn't just a feature, right? If your thinking is constrained, then your systems are going to be constrained by what you can get out of it, as well as the potential AI that you can implement in your business. All of that is going to be constrained by your thinking if you're only thinking in terms of the tools and systems that you're using today.
Agreed. So, question: how do you think companies can help drive innovation within their businesses?
Well, similar as what we did just a couple of weeks ago, having something like an innovation day. everyone in your business has very different roles. They have very different backgrounds and experiences. Some might be young graduates who's just finished, and they're like at uni. There's always different experiments and things happening. You're surrounded by lots of people from different places, so it's actually like quite ripe for thinking creatively because you haven't been constrained by working in a business that has you have no clue what a process is, a business process, when you are fresh out of uni, right? You are clueless. So it's quite nice to have like we actively look for people who's fresh out of uni to come um, apply for our process intelligence roles that we have, to get them to help us think more innovative about. We just throw problems at them and say, we don't care what tool you use or how you do it, just go solve this problem for me. Like, we like people to be coming to us and bringing new innovative ways. um, so I think it's like hiring diverse is a big thing, because people who's been in maybe industries that is completely different to your industry. There's things that could have happened there. Or like putting someone in a role that's maybe not a role that they've done before, but you don't need this, maybe a brand new role in your business. So I think diversity, variety in terms of where people come from, where they've worked, people who's worked in big corporates, people who's worked in startups, um, uni students, like I've mentioned. So I think that helps in terms of the makeup of your team, having very different um, people. But then having something like Innovation Day, so the one that we had, we everyone participated, and there wasn't a theme. It was just there was the different methodologies that we used, and it was really interesting because we actually got so many marketing ideas from people who are in the solution specialist team who's dealing with implementing Monday.com for customers on a daily basis. But they had really cool and creative and very innovative ideas about marketing campaigns that we could be running.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think a lot of businesses that we've worked with, not a lot, but there are quite a few who have innovation teams, which is great. It's obviously a focus for the business and how do we innovate. But like you say, I think opening it up to a wider audience. And yes, you have ways and means of inputting the people's ideas into the business, but people are busy. Like they have their day to day. Like there's no prompt or no sort of point in time where they say come together to innovate. Yes, you can submit your ideas, but do people do that? I mean, I'd be interested to see how many new ideas people actually submit in their day to day. So I think having that actual, here is a full day where everyone comes together, and I know some large enterprise organizations will never be able to do that, but for small businesses, if you set aside a day and say, let's just chat about how we can innovate and, like I say, blue sky thinking. It doesn't even have to be what we do today as a business. Like anything, if you have an idea, there's no bad ideas. That idea that you bring up and mention might not be the greatest idea, but it might lead to someone else having a different idea, which is the thing. So I think having that point in time where everyone comes together and can just freely share. And I think you ran the workshop really well in terms of like putting a structured methodologies or multiple methodologies in place to sort of drive those conversations was great. I also think the removal of risk of taking your new idea and running with it. So we've always said we fail fast, fail forward. And we've sort of carried that on for forever. And we've mentioned to our staff repeatedly, and I hope it rings true for them, because it really is. Like, if you make a mistake, we will never shout at you if you come and say, I have messed up, I'm taking accountability, I need help.
Yeah.
And I think that's just true day to day. Everyone makes mistakes and people shouldn't be punished for that. But I think it's also true with innovation. If you know that you can try something and it fails and you're not going to get in trouble, you're probably more likely going to be rewarded for trying something new and something cool and innovative.
Yeah.
I mean, within reason, we don't want someone to completely go off piste and say, I don't know, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head.
Well, some people have ideas that might not be good ideas. So
Yeah,
you want to put a structure in place that allows people to bring those ideas, and at least some of it, if they see maybe my ideas aren't tested, but other colleagues' ideas are tested. So like this is a real thing, and they can maybe get inspired by how it's being done or like the types of things that's being implemented. So even if your idea isn't, I think people just want to see movement and that something is happening. And I think so with innovation teams I just want to touch on that. It's interesting because we're working with an organization right now who does have an innovation team. And it was really interesting because I think one of the things that they're struggling with is the business is expecting them as the team to come up with all the ideas and solve all the problems. But they just there to facilitate it and to create opportunities and enable the people to do that. The idea still has to come of the people who's working in a day-to-day position that is having problems and are thinking, oh, there must be a better way of doing this. What if we do this? I wonder if and then going and pitching that idea to the innovation team. So I think innovation teams are amazing, but people shouldn't think that they are the answer to the problem. Like your ideas still comes from various different places.
I think it's a big ask to put that responsibility on a single team,
Yeah.
because that means that team has to know every single in and out and nook and cranny of your business to find ways to innovate to overcome those. So you do need to have those days where, whether it's team by team, or have ways that that team can then, like you say, facilitate that after finding out what those problems are, because they don't know what they don't know. And it's actually impossible for a few people on a team to completely understand every process throughout the entire business.
Yeah. And I wonder maybe if it's like if you're working with customers, is like once a month when you have your company meeting or maybe your innovation team day, whatever that is to maybe get people like your customers or your vendors or people that your organization is already collaborating with to come in and say, what are they doing? These are people that you have relationships with. They probably understand your business quite well. Like we went to an event recently, and we spoke to one of our customers, and I was telling them about Tom and our AI recruitment process that we've implemented. And immediately they were like, oh my gosh, we have this problem in our business. And within one day, we solved it for them. From the moment we had the conversation to, I think, 5 days later, it was solved because it was a very quick, easy thing, a quick win for them. But it was something that they've never done before. It's just using AI, tag CVs, organize it, just getting through a whole backlog of CVs and using AI and agents and smart technology to help you get through the grunt work. And so it was a quick win. But if we didn't have that conversation, that problem might have still existed, maybe someone else in the organization. But again, that problem was very centralized to one team, and they never brought that problem maybe to anyone else. And then everyone else gets really busy in their day-to-day, and it's not their problem to solve. But the innovation team immediately went, aha, this is something more innovative that actually helps solve this problem. So I think speaking with peers and colleagues as well, and just like hearing how other people are doing it, and I think maybe this is a constraint that some people might have, and again is that fear of rejection or fear of it not working. Is I don't want to ask what other people are doing because maybe like it should come from me. So maybe it's like that personal fear of, well, it's my job, maybe I should come up with the idea.
I've been shown up by someone else. Well, I know like we are currently taking registrations for Art of the Possible workshops, and I know that's something we run as a company, and I love throwing those out. I mean, you run them because you're really good at them, but just go in and have different teams come through and sit and just say, let's innovate. Let's talk about what are your day-to-day hurdles and pain points that you have to wade through and suffer through day in and day out, and how can we fix that? And we don't go in with a tool in mind. It's how do we just solve this?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Monday.com. It doesn't have to be ProjectWorks. It doesn't have to be anything. Invariably, it can be, but it's just getting to the core of what those problems are and then figuring out the best way to solve them.
Yeah.
And I think there's massive value for businesses to spend a day. Each team has to take an hour or two out of their day to come and just chat. And the outcome of that is like revolutionary in some cases.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you mentioned the CV one, that same business that you're talking about. I was also having a conversation with them at the same event and talking about another solution we had deployed for another client. And they were like, we have this exact same problem. Like, they obviously in the same industry, and it was like they were like, we need to talk. We need to chat through how have you done this. And they didn't know that that was possible until we've like, oh yeah, we've solved that problem.
Yeah.
So it's communication.
And I think it's a mindset thing. I think often we get caught up in this no mentality. So one of the rules in our innovation workshops that we run is no is a forbidden word. No idea is a bad idea, and no is a forbidden word. Everyone is allowed to bring an idea, and to just the craziest ideas. Like, we got some really interesting things.
Sponsoring water at sports events.
I mean, like, that was the one that had the most conversation going. Like,
people were running down that rabbit hole. Yes,
we probably spent too much time talking about. But what it did is like it got people from all areas of the business really exciting about people who are interested in sport, people who like the idea that how do we, if we do it, like let's say we take a water, this was just like water cans with our logo in, maybe something funny, Benny the Beaver's on it, and we go and hand it out at a polo event, because we recently went to a polo event, so we'd be like, oh, could we do it there? But people were like, well, what about the environmental? And the people were like, oh, but we could do glass and we could do this. And like, it was just, people were just thinking outside of their day-to-day, but they walked away feeling very inspired, I think, and excited about not the water, but, oh my gosh, like, look at all the things that we can contribute as a company towards each other and helping each other out.
What amazed me during that water discussion was the amount of people who were like, oh yeah, my husband does this, and I know someone who works in here and can help with this. And it's like, it opened up like a network of like, if we wanted to do this, we could literally go and do this. We know people who know people.
We went from it's going to probably be very expensive and not viable to like, oh wait, we've got all the people we need to actually go and let's go test this. And all there's a little group in our business who meets on a bi-weekly basis, who is working towards, can we make this a reality? Like, can we actually be
exactly
as a marketing PR initiative, like everyone drinks water, but if we do it right, who knows? It could be very cool.
It's just, I think opening up those discussions was like really eye-opening in terms of like the network of people that we didn't even know about before that session.
Yeah.
And I think that could be true for any idea. I mean, that's one. But I think having those things like, oh yeah, my husband does X, and oh, my cousin is involved in Y, and you just don't know if you don't take the time to sit down and have those conversations.
And again, asking people to like bring external people into your business who talk about some stuff that they're doing can like ignite that creative thinking.
Yeah. So another question is like going back to the risk and like risk aversion and people covering their asses and fear of putting their neck on the line. How do you think a business prevents that, and how do you think an individual can like maybe be less risk averse?
I think you don't have to go all guns blazing. If you have an idea, I remember when I worked with a large tier 1 bank and we were doing social listening analytics for them, one of the things that we proposed is they call it like a little sandbox POC environment and like innovation labs. So that's one way that you can do it, is say, okay, cool, sounds really interesting. It's hard to maybe quantify the impact it will have in our business, but we feel like this has got potential. Start really small. Do it with like a sample of people and then test it. And then through that testing, you're actually going to learn whether it works or not. Like Tom, our AI agent, we had no idea whether it was going to work. And we also didn't know whether people were going to be willing to speak to the AI agent. And so we just went, okay, we're going to run it for a week. All the CVs was coming in, we're going to put it through this whole methodology, we're going to run it for a week and see the responses we got. And since then, we've had lots of feedback. There was some really good feedback. We've got some feedback from people who's reviewed the calls who say, okay, maybe Tom needs to ask these questions. And now we're constantly updating Tom's knowledge base, things that we need to look out for. So where we started, I mean, when we were at Dublin Tech Week, when was that? Maybe a month ago? From a month ago when we started this to where we are now, I've added so many different features and functionalities to that because we just started and now it wasn't perfect. And I think it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the answers. You just have to go, what is the impact on the business? Like if it fails, and what is the worst case scenario if it fails? What impact? And if you can limit that impact a little bit, to say, okay, we're not, I don't know, like it also depends on the business. Like if you are a regulatory business, that's a lot harder to do. But like, is there something internally, like what we do is before we even sign up to new partnerships or new products, we test it ourselves internally. So we know exactly when we go to sell it to a customer, what will work and what don't know. If you know what the limitations are and you know what the risks are, you can mitigate that. And so also don't spend 10 years going through a risk mitigation plan. Start small, know what the worst case scenario is, plan for that worst case scenario, and then whatever happens, you have a plan to accommodate that. But just start small and doesn't have to be perfect. And I think just start. Just start doing something.
Progress over perfection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I forgot the question.
How do you drive innovation when there's like, what about the individual? So maybe I didn't answer that question from an individual perspective. If you're worried about your job and you're going to get into trouble for trying something new.
I think, I mean, this is in your line of business, is get the data together. If you do the homework and you can put together a compelling business case, like don't just go in and like all guns blazing. I've had this idea and we're going to have to
just do it.
Flip everything, to flip the table. We're going to start again. People are going to go, whoa, because then they've got risk aversion and they like, it's crazy. But if you go and you say like, this is the pathway, and so there's two things. I think it's the data around it, the business case, but then I think it's also the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
How do you tell the story? And how do you know your manager? Have you learned how to communicate with your manager? How do you tell that story in a way that will
get them excited?
Exactly. So taking that and those two together and then just putting it in front and say, here are the steps. We don't have to flip the table. We can just break off one of the legs for now and we can see how it goes. So I think not just going in guns blazing, like put together a plan of what the outcome is we're trying to achieve and what that means for the business and the company or the team or you as an individual. And then what are the steps to get there and with data to back all of that up.
Yeah.
And then if you tell the story in a way that resonates with the department head, the manager, etc., I think there's a much better success rate. I mean, us internally, we always, all the new starters who start, like we meet with them and I'm always like, if you have any ideas from where you come from, if you can see something that we could be doing differently to improve how we operate as a business or any ideas that our doors are always open, please come and speak to us. Yeah. The only time we will say no to an idea is if it opens us up to any serious legal risk, which no one's ever brought to the table, but that would be a reason we'd say no. Or if we tried it before you started and it was an abject failure.
Yeah.
So if we've tried and we failed with that and you come with the same idea, then we will be a bit more hesitant to run with it. But if you come and you say, I have this idea, amazing.
Yeah.
Let's try. And let's try, like you say, with a section of the team or you just try it yourself. And I think there are people on our team who feel very encouraged by that. And I know there are lots of people on the team who do come with amazing ideas.
Yeah, amazing ideas.
And like we're in the process of implementing a lot of them. I think some of them have been implemented. So yeah, I think it's just giving the powers that be the information they need to say yes.
Yeah.
Is my short answer to that massive rambling.
I think also people maybe think black and white, right? There's a yes or a no. but there's lots that you can learn through the process of maybe failing, right? I mean, we learn way more from failing than getting it right. And we have, irrespective of the type of AI tool that you're using in your business, ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, it doesn't really matter what you use in your business. They all have deep research functionality. I think Gemini is the one that is the best because, like, if you're doing academic research and you want really good statistical data, from my knowledge, Gemini is the one that's quite good at that. And if you're using Perplexity, you can use Gemini within Perplexity, which is really good.
They've also plugged into Statista now.
I love it. Statista's one of my favorites, of course. But what you can do is you can say, okay, here's my idea. Go like, if that was me, I'll go throw it in Perplexity. So this is like a practical way that you can do it. Throw your idea, just brain dump it into Perplexity and say, go do deep research. And what I want to know is worst case scenario for my business. And if you haven't given your business context to the tool, make sure you give like your business context, who your customers is, what you do, all of that. What is the best case scenario for my business? What is the worst case scenario for my business? Have anyone else ever tried to implement something like this? So is it a quite an innovative new idea? Or have other people actually tried it, and what has been the results of that? And then it can go and do the research and put together a whole research paper for you that gives you that data. And then you have to go, okay, how do I make it really applicable or in a small case for my business? And that's where the storytelling can come in. And I think from a storytelling perspective, what I always find useful is just post a scenario. Right now in our business, we have a problem. And this is what the problem is. However, I've done my research and there's like 1 or 2 companies in the world that I've actually found who has taken a similar approach to solving this problem. And here's the data that they have seen doing it. And so the implications for us in terms of going and implementing in our business, here's the best case scenario, here's the worst case scenario. But what we learn across that, here's perhaps things that we can figure out along the way to get there eventually, like the blue sky thinking. And then this is the impact that it will ultimately have in our business. And why should we do it now? Why is now the right time to go? What happens if we wait 6 months and we do nothing? What is the cost of doing nothing? We stay the same. What is our growth? Our growth is 3%. Are we happy with 3%? Is inflation 3%? Is it like, can we give increases to our employees? Is this actually going to help us win new customers, reduce our cost, improve like the productivity, which means we can do more work with less people? Like, what is the actual business impact it will have from a revenue ROI perspective? And is it worth it? If we try it and we fail, does what we win overcome the risk of actually doing it? So that's how I would go about pitching my idea to someone and telling the story, hopefully in a way that can convince them to say yes.
Yes, you're very good at data storytelling.
It's just following the pathway, right? So like, here's the problem, root cause analysis, finding the breadcrumbs that links, one thing links to another, and then just always asking, so what? What is the so what? And like, why? Why should we do this? Why is this the right thing to do? Why will it make a difference in our business? Why should you listen to me and not someone else? Because I think it's interesting because companies will go and pay millions of pounds for large consultancies to come in and tell them how to make more money. But no one knows your business better than your employees who's working there every single day. And me as a business owner, I would much rather invest in paying my employees for a day, because the cost of them not working on client projects is a cost to the company, and get them to bring ideas and bring problems that we can solve and like use all our knowledge internally to go and solve them, than someone who's just going in, they don't have the context, they don't really understand, and I'm paying them thousands to just put together a pitch deck. Yeah, I not my idea of a good way to spend my money.
I think something that we're really good at is the longer term sight of innovation, and especially in this AI era, like what is next. And a lot of these platforms are like software and tools and all of that from a process perspective are implementing and throwing AI in the mix. If you're not doing AI, you're going to be irrelevant. But I think the longer play is, how is AI going to change that? I mean, it's like, yes, you're going to implement AI in your tool and your day to day and use agents and all of this good stuff, which is great. Definitely moves the needle. But what is that going to be in 10 years from now? I mean, if you if you think the time period from people getting access to ChatGPT to now is wild.
Yeah,
In
what is it?
five to
No, it was like 2 years, but I can't even remember when it was.
it's
There's so
probably
much that
before
happened.
then, three, let's say 4 years. I mean, I think I started using ChatGPT daily maybe
No, it would be
3 years
more.
ago.
Was more. I think it was longer ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's been around for longer,
Mm.
of course, but when it became like this thing where people were daily using it daily. And I think what's also been crazy about it is that fear of AI to now embracing it has,
Yeah,
in less than a
like
year,
almost overnight
just
changed. Yeah,
disappeared.
yeah,
Now people are like, how do I get it and how do I get it now? So there's a bit of FOMO around that, which I mentioned on the last episode. But I think that that growth and how we've seen that change over such a short period. In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, what we're going to see is going to be unfathomable.
yeah. We can't. Our human brains is too small to
And
like.
how like thinking about like blue sky innovation, like how do we plan for that? How do we think about what we do as a business and how do we fit into the new world that's coming? I mean, you hear about all these AI is going to take all the jobs and all that fear mongering around it, and it will. It's going to take jobs. It's just that's the nature of the beast. However, same as the internet. The internet now has created how many different industries. So I think AI will do the same. So it'll be a shift in the job market, but thinking that far ahead. So don't think next year or in a year's, 2 years' time. Like we need to start thinking 5 years out, 10 years out. That's not a long time.
Yeah,
But the pace of which technology is evolving is decades
yeah,
by normal standards that we've lived through already. So I think not just burying your head in the sand and actually saying we need to, as a leadership team, and I know we do this, you and I sit and we chat about this all the time, but thinking longer term, then how do I fix this process? And yes, don't not fix the process. Don't wait the 5 years for AI to come in and do it. That still needs to happen now. But have a plan for when this shift comes, this wave comes, and then the table will be flipped.
or something like quite practical, right? I know, I know this already happens in the US, and now there's pockets of London that's rolled out Uberless, driverless Ubers, right? So I think they're doing a test in some areas of London now about that. But that's not even the future. That's the now. The future is likely: is it flying vehicles? Is it hyperloops under the hyperloop traveling underground? Is it snap my fingers and I'm where I want to be? Like as like humans, let's say the travel industry transforms enormously over the next 10 years, where I can be anywhere in the world in an instant. I want to go to Bali. We love Bali. I want to go for a weekend to Bali. It's going to take me 10 minutes to get there. What if that is the future? Now, if you are a travel company or if you are an airline, you have to sit and think, what happens when someone comes and have the ability to put someone in Bali within 10 minutes? Right now, you're like, that is impossible. What if it's not impossible? What does your future as a travel company look like then? And then you can go, okay, that how do we transform? And then the various steps towards the transformation will already help you to think in like really different ways about being an airplane company or being a travel agency. So you have to think about the craziest ideas, even if it is humanly impossible. What if robots can do that? What if they can fly through the air at like light speed? like get somewhere really fast. What does that unlock for us from a human perspective? If I have I mean, the one that I want really is someone to do my washing for me. Like, but what if I don't need to do washing? What if we wear clothes that washes itself? What if you have self-washing clothes? So you have to think about. I think about this is an example that Willem Billion actually uses in his TED talk, which is back in the day when they were using horses for transport, and horse manure were like people were literally knee deep in horse manure, and there was lots of companies that were trying innovative ways to like catch it in a bucket or like scrape it off, like, but actually the real innovation was the internal combustion engine, which got rid of horses as a transport mode completely, which got off the manure. So the problem they were solving wasn't how to get rid of the problem that was in front of me. It was how to create a whole new way of traveling that completely eliminates the problem. And so if you think about it in that way and to go, okay, I'm not just solving my problem, I'm eliminating it by having a whole new way of working. That, I think, is what innovation truly is. It's not just solving the problem, it's maybe eliminating it.
Yes. And I think that is that forward thinking, not constrained by the way that we've always done it.
Or the systems and tools that you have.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So let's say you are a Monday.com customer right now, and you're like, we are constrained within what features and functionalities we have on the platform. So how can I be innovative in my project management? How do I innovate project management within Monday.com? How would you go about uncovering that?
Speak to motherboard. Yeah, I mean it is a difficult one because every tool does have its constraints. But I think there's ways and means to, well, we know there's ways and means to overcome those using external third-party tools to connect an AI. Like there's a whole bunch of things that you can look at and do to move the needle on that. I think a more interesting question is, what does project management look like in the age of AI, where I'm not constrained by any software? I just go ask my AI, and it will build me my custom software to exactly what I want it to do. And I don't have to know how to code. I don't have to know anything. I put in a single prompt, and it'll build me whatever I want.
Yeah.
And that's almost here. Like it's in 5 years, that's going to be, I think, the norm.
I mean, what if you have a project management agent? And you can do that in Monday. You can already build that. The agent can build your plan. You can ingest scoping calls with Monday's AI Note Taker. You can do the scoping call of the client. The AI agent can build your plan based on your current managed template project plan that you have. If you have your project calls with your clients, again, it can go and adjust things to say, this has been done, this is outstanding, here's your risk catalog. So actually managing and running the project within reason can be done mostly by an agent. But what you have to do is validate QA, make sure that the agent, so actually think about the agent as just a project assistant that you have, that could be a human, and you can, instead of running the project and going and updating that stuff yourself, use the agent to do that. And your to-do list task becomes monitoring the agent and then thinking about, okay, the agent is failing in this part. It doesn't seem to be able to get that right. Can I now create a new knowledge base or a new methodology of doing that? That's something that you can do already now. What if project management disappears because there's no more projects, because AI is doing everything, right? What then? Like, how do you get benefit from the tools that you're using now?
I think it depends on the industry, right? So I don't think project management will ever go away entirely, or not in the near term. um, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that's a question that we can ask our viewers to let us know what they think about project management as a concept. How does projects evolve over time? How do you? I mean, project management is there's lots of moving pieces, and like the one thing that I think AI is going to struggle to do is that stakeholder management, and it's always between two different parties, right? It's like the client has a very clear idea of their expectations of what they want from what you need to deliver, and you as the delivery team have an idea of that, and being able to get those two to work together and understand, it's all about negotiation techniques. And I don't think AI, and I don't think people necessarily want AI to negotiate those type of things. And so the human connection, managing stakeholders is something that I think is going to become more important when you have AIs who's doing delivery, execution. The management part of that, I think, is not going to go away. And maybe human skills in terms of managing projects, managing people, managing relationships is going to become the pinnacle of what we do.
We mentioned that also on a previous podcast, is the human connection is going to become even more important.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think also a big one of that is, and you mentioned it, is the managing of AI agents.
Mm-hmm.
How, when you've rolled out 30, 40 agents within your business, you need to, what they call orchestration, how you conducting the orchestra of agents, and how do you do that at scale and en masse, and how do you put those guardrails in place? That also talks our last episode around AI governance and safety and security, all of that good stuff. Because it's here, like it's literally agentic AI is here. And I think getting a person getting their arms around that and being able to do the QA and check up on all their outcomes and making sure that it's optimized. Again, like you said, Tom, our recruitment agent, we've released him into the wild and he's been smashing it. But there have been tweaks and updates that we've had as we learn, as we go through the process. So that's just one, but how do you do that across, depending on the size of the business, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 agents? So that is...
Well, that's when new roles are going to get created, right? You're going to have people who's managing those agents, who are managers of agents, to make sure the agent doesn't go rogue and delete your entire database. That's happened
we've heard of that, yeah.
So, like, again, but that's not a good example. So, yes, there might be roles that becomes redundant, but there's definitely going to be so many roles being created that's going to be brand new, that again we can't even imagine managing agents being one of them. You're going to have a whole team that's managing agents.
Yeah.
Do you think an agent will phone a call center to go, my agent is going rogue, can you help me?
I think by the time your agent starts going rogue, it's too late.
It's too late.
You're not just
Phone the
waiting 20 minutes,
center.
waiting. Well, you're going to phone a contact center and get through to an AI agent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the guardrails and I think building shelters from Terminator is going to definitely be a new role in the hopefully very distant future, but we'll see.
I'm trying to think about some practical examples of things that we've done that could be regarded as quite innovative for our customers that was within Monday.com. The one thing I'm thinking about is we have a customer who's a land surveyor, and they were really struggling to be able to see when they have gone and surveyed a specific land where there's not even a postcode assigned yet. So how do you determine whether we've surveyed this piece of land if the ways that you know the land is points on a map, and depending on where you drop that point, you could have, it's very hard to connect those two.
I'll add a bit more context to that. So yes, this client, as a land surveyor, would go out and do their survey, and their business model is they do the first one free. Great business strategy. But basically, it's a good way to get intake of new clients. But they'd survey the land, and then within the industry, this is a years-long process. Mm-hmm. So people could go in and then say, okay, I'm putting in planning. So greenfield sites, like such an empty field somewhere, and they'd go put in planning permission to build housing, let's say. They would then get the planning permission, which could take a year, longer. They then sell the land with the planning permission to someone else, who then might sit on it and then sell it on someone else. Or someone just sells the land as is. And like over the years, it was impossible for them to go and say, this piece of land is a piece of land that we've already surveyed. So they get Joe Blogs come in and say, survey the land. They go survey the land. Joe Bloggs sells it to Steve. Steve goes and resells it to Andrew. Andrew then comes in and says, oh, I know, I see you do land surveys. I need this land surveyed. And they would only know
when they physically
when they walk up to the plot and they're like, we've done this already. So that was their big pain point. So that is a bit of the context around thing, but you can tell the rest of the story.
Well, eventually what we figured out is if we could plot 2 points, and we had to define very clearly what those A and B points were going to be, so that it is relevant to something that they can replicate over and over again, and it's very specific. 2 points on a map and their geolocations, and then basically putting in place like a metric system that says when a new item gets logged for their free survey, we can look how close that one is, the point A and the point B, and give a probability metric to say there's a really high probability that within 5 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters of where this pin is dropped, we have something that's within that measurement. So we can then create a probability metric to say this new thing, we have a 70% likelihood that we have found a match for this, and then bring to fore what those ones are, and then there's a validation, because if you've surveyed hundreds of thousands of, to go through them manually. So again, we wouldn't be able to immediately say, oh, this has been done, but we could limit the results that was shown just by figuring out some statistical analysis and plotting points on land to bring to fore potential ones that they've done before.
And that solution came about from a brainstorming session with the team.
Yeah, just
we were like we had the call with the clients, and we're like, this is the problem, and this is how, and this was the normal one. Can't we match it via email address? Like, no, because the email address of the person could have changed over 3 to 5, how many years. So that's not possible. Can we do it by postcode? No, because some of these places don't have a postcode yet. Like it's going through the motions and then coming up with that. I think also blue sky. Like, what if we integrated the GIS software with the points on a map? And that was like, okay, well, let's test, let's see, let's try it, and there we go. So it's getting people in a room and just bashing it out and saying, like, how do we solve this problem? It's a little mini innovation day, but just within the people on the team. So yeah,
I love that. So why is innovation more important now than ever before, would you say?
I mean, the same answer, AI. I think people that aren't innovating with AI in mind, not just using it day to day, but innovating with how is AI going to disrupt everything that we do, you will die. Not as a person, but as a business, your business will fail if you aren't thinking in that way.
Yeah. So this is literally business critical.
Yeah.
If you don't do it,
if you bury your head in the sand and say AI is never going to affect or have any influence on my industry, you are no longer going to exist as a business. And it's not going to be in 10, 20 years. We're talking 5 years. Maximum. Even sooner, maximum. Best case scenario, 5 years.
Yeah.
It is here, and it is only getting more and more intelligent, more and more effective at what it does. There are models that are now being banned because they are so good at hacking. Like, it's getting to the point where that will start being regulated by governments, but it isn't an if, it's a when, and every industry will be implemented.
So what if you are quite a traditional business, like you're not a tech business, and you feel like innovation is not a thing, like maybe construction, right? Construction, they're still very much paper-based processes in those, and they're super regulated. How do those big companies, where there's lots of moving parts, lots of health and safety, like, where do they start? Because there might be someone listening going, I really want to because I know it's important, but I just feel like there are too many hurdles in my way to get this done. Like, what do those companies do?
Well, if you use the construction example, there's a lot of different ways to innovate and a lot of different ways to use AI to innovate. We are not yet there where we're going to have robots doing the actual construction. But like you say, paper-based. If you are still filling in on-site permits in a site office on an A4 piece of paper, it actually blows my mind. It actually blows my mind because there are tools already.
Yeah.
So that is a first step.
Yeah.
Like review all your processes and just see. But there's also other innovations within the construction industry that are also revolutionary, not necessarily with AI, but on-site or off-site construction. So they build all like the panels and all of that off-site in a factory, bring it to site, put it up in 10 minutes and bish, you've got a house or a warehouse or whatever. So it's things like that. I think AI can come in with those processes and day-to-day grind. Health and safety is a big one. If you have, and you still will have to have, people doing site visits for health and safety checks, all of that sort of stuff. Taking all that data, if it isn't on pen and paper, if it's digitized, putting that through an AI system and saying flag risk for me. Put up cameras, and I guarantee you can have.
Don't you get like technology that can scan
Yes.
the site to identify certain risks?
Not necessarily risk, but percentage completion. So there is a company that does that. One of our Kenobis works there, one of our friends. And there's a lot of things that are innovative. That sort of technology is probably for the larger companies. I'm speaking out of turn here, I don't know. But if you're building like a 30-story block of apartments, then that would definitely be something you should look at. But I think it's the day-to-day. It's the on-site permitting and how do we use AI to make that more effective. Like you said, is regulated, but how do we implement it in a way that reduces the administrative pain of walking to the site office, filling in a form, finding the site manager, getting it signed, and then only doing the work.
What if you eliminate people being on site completely? Like, what if you can 3D print buildings?
Well, there's videos of them doing it. I think it's sort of untested at the moment. I think it will become more commonplace. But I don't think traditional construction. I think what's more likely is robots will come in and give them AI, and they will be able to build houses and build blocks of apartments, etc.
Yeah.
So
robots are not there yet, based on some online
some,
videos that we viewed where they can't run a race yet. It's quite entertaining.
But again, if you look at, there were, I don't know, not that many robotics, like well-known robotics companies. Now you see robots popping up from everywhere. Lots of it coming from China, but that proliferation has also been a steep climb. So it is literally a matter. It is a matter of time before we have robots doing people tasks.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just, if you don't do it, your business will cease to exist. And it's not just embedding AI, it's thinking about it in a creative, innovative, new way so that you can stay competitive. Because the youngsters of today, I mean, they grew up with technology. So they learn how to use tools so fast. So one of our skill sets that we do is like on make.com, building a scenario on make.com. And how quickly kids, I call them kids because I'm old, but like how quickly people who's just graduated from university can figure out how to use that tool versus how long it took me to train myself up on how to using it. It's insane. And I absolutely love it because I can just go, this problem, you need to go solve it. And so I think the younger generation are also going to come challenge us in terms of starting businesses that could takes a business that's been around for 30, 40 years and just completely demolish it because they found a quicker, more efficient way. And for them, there was no risk because they had zero to start from. They could just go and build this innovative company, and you're still sitting there in a boardroom deciding whether this risk is okay for you to try and do.
Well, a good example is the banks. You've done so many reports on banking over the years when your data analyst life. And you look at the big incumbent banks, and they're sitting with legacy systems that have been patched together, like held together by strings and prayers. And then you get these new challenger banks who've come from the ground up, building on the latest technology, seamless integrations between everything. And for them to make a change and pivot and thing when they're still small, and these little challenger banks, as they call them, it's much easier for them. Whereas if you go to one of the massive tier one incumbent banks and say, "Oh, we need to change our app,"
Yeah, takes a year.
it's
a year to approve one feature change on the app because there's so many things that it touches and teams and people who have to say yes, and it's quite difficult to move a big. It's hard to pivot a big boat.
That is a case in point. And like you said, the younger generation want all the flashy features and functionality, so they are more drawn to those challenger banks. So they will start losing market share. And what that does is, as they lose market share, these challenger banks start earning more money. They have more capital to innovate even further. And I think that is true, or will become more and more true as AI takes off even further, and the smaller businesses aren't constrained by the processes and the systems and tools that they have set up over decades. So it's going to be an interesting time.
I know, I'm very excited.
Yes.
Cool. So to close off, essentially what we're saying is, don't constrain your mindset by the tools or systems that you're using. Think as crazy as possible. Like, I can be in Bali in 10 minutes. Imagine that happens. What does that mean for you? And then iterate and find your way there. And if you're really struggling to do this, or you feel like there's not a team that can do it, then we love running these workshops.
Yeah. Well, you've got one registrations open at the moment. Yes. So I think, don't bury your head in the sand. Don't be like, my industry's never going to be affected by the technology coming our way. And don't be scared to fail.
Yeah.
Allow people to fail, even. If you are a manager or a business owner, allow people to fail so that when they get it right, the results, the payoff is 10x however many mistakes they've made to get there.
Thank you. That was it.
Bang.
Bang.
Episode 3 in the bag.
Done. Like and subscribe.